Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to quickly share my thoughts about why I believe people should never go back to the narcissist after the first devaluation and discard phase. Narcissistic relationships are cyclical. You go from love bombing to devaluation and discard, and then the hoovering, and then reconciliation, and back to love bombing again. So what happens is during the first phase of the relationship 1.0, there's abuse, manipulation, deception after the narcissist has hooked you onto the relationship during the love bombing phase. And the love bombing phase, the narcissist, they'll give you lots of attention, lots of sex, money, time. They are the perfect partner. And this is a red flag because nobody has time. No grown adult has the time to give another adult attention 24/7 unless they're getting paid to do so. So in relationship 1.0, the narcissist baits their victim by being the perfect partner. Lots of money spent, romantic dates, calling 3-4 times a day. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I was just thinking about you, all this mess, right? And once they've hooked you like a drug dealer, they start pulling away. They become less responsive to your texts or calls or emails, right? They're not as attentive. They're not as lovey. As a matter of fact, they may pull back from you completely and then wait for you to chase them. And then after you've chased them down and convinced them that you're the perfect partner for them because you want that love bombing phase back, right? You want the texts, the calls, the emails, the roses, the flowers, the vacations, all the nice lovey-dovey stuff. Once you get in a relationship with a narcissist, they will begin to abuse you, right? And this is relationship 1.0, which is the first love bombing and discard cycle. So after the first love bombing and discard cycle and you've been single for a while, you've missed the narcissist and all this other stuff, a few months later or even a few weeks later, they'll come back and they'll say, I miss you. Let's start over, right? Let's wipe this slate clean. Let's let bygones be bygones, even though they're the ones who created the bygones that needed to be forgotten in the first place, right? They want you to forgive them for everything they've done to hurt you. And this is the only way the relationship can move forward. They will not take accountability for why you broke up in the first place. What they'll do is come to you with some roses or a gift, right? Back to love bombing. They'll come to you with a weak apology, pretending to be remorseful about things, but never really taking accountability for what they've done. So you want to reconcile with them, right? You miss the OG 1.0 boyfriend. You miss the guy you met that was perfect and gave you lots of attention and took you on night dates and the sex was great and it was all perfect. You want that guy back. So after you reconcile with the narcissist, we begin relationship 2.0. This is phase 2.0, right? And the narcissist convinced you that phase 2.0 won't be the same as phase 1.0. So it's in your best interest to forget everything that happened in the past in order to forgive them and move forward to this whole new phase, right? Because they need you to forgive them in order for you to put them back on a pedestal, in order to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And in order for you to give them the same level of narcissistic supply they got from you when you first met them. There was hope there. There was optimism. You saw the potential in the narcissist. They want that back from you. They want you to have that new car smell, right? They want you to look at them like they're a dream come true. Because when they're a dream come true, you don't use your discernment. You're not skeptical. You're not distrustful, right? You're not going to trust your own intuition. You're going to believe everything this person says because they got you hooked on that cocaine of a dopamine rush, believing that you found this perfect knight in shining armor. Handsome, charming, attentive, great sex, right? Always initiates conversations, always plans ahead, spends lots of money, all this good stuff. They need you to be hooked on that. So when relationship 2.0 starts, in the beginning, right, the first several weeks or months is going to be great. Just like the old days, right? The narcissist will try to get you to reminisce about the good old days. They'll send you photos, they'll send you gifts, they'll reminisce about bullshit ass anniversaries to get you swept up in the emotional high of phase 1.0, right? They want you to forget all of the abuse. So this is what inevitably happens. When the narcissist's veneer cracks and they start to withdraw from you again, they start to make excuses for why they keep canceling on you, right? They're not as responsive to your calls or your emails or even your emotional pleas for attention. Like, what happened to the guy that I met? What happened to the attention, the phone calls, the lovey-doveyness? What happened to it? And what they will do is, if you start to call them out on their bullshit, they're going to remind you of all the reasons why they cheated on you before or disrespected you before in relationship 1.0. So when they told you to forget about 1.0 because they wanted you to forgive them, they didn't forget that. And they're going to use what they did to you in relationship 1.0 to justify abusing you in relationship 2.0. So remember, they asked you to forgive and forget, to wipe the slate clean. They want to start anew. They want a fresh beginning, right? And they did this to reel you back in, to give you this false belief that what happened was a figment of your imagination. It wasn't real. It was just something that was by chance. It wasn't the real narcissist. They want you to believe that the real narcissist is the one that answers your calls all the time, that plans for dates, that is romantic and loving and attentive. They want you to believe that that's the real them. So you're constantly chasing after that person that does not exist. Then they tell you to forget what happened in the past to convince you to forgive them so that they can reconcile with you. And then after you reconcile with them and their behavior becomes abusive again, what they'll do is they'll remind you of what they did to you before to justify abusing you now. I had to recap that really quickly, okay? This is one of the main reasons why you should not forgive a narcissist. There are multiple reasons, but one of the reasons is if you reconcile with them, they will justify abusing you more because you've accepted the abuse before. And they're going to prove to you that you deserve the abuse and you were okay with it before by reminding you of everything that they did to you, which they begged you to forget because they needed you to have a renewed faith in them to use you as narcissistic supply, period. So forgiving the narcissist will set you up for failure. They don't forget anything. The narcissist may act like they forgot what they've done to you. No, they act like that because they want you to forget or they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. But they don't forget anything. And what they'll do is they'll act like they don't know what happened, right? Come back to you, beg for forgiveness, you forgive them. And then when you mess up or when you get them upset for whatever reason, whatever little petty reason they get upset for, they will remind you of everything that you thought they forgot or everything that they acted like they forgot, in order to convince you that everything was in the past, right? I'm going to act like shit ain't happened to convince this girl or this guy that it won't happen again. Because if I don't remember it happening before, that means that I have no connection to what I've done in the past, which means that I can't do it again. I don't remember that. That didn't happen. You must be mixing me up with somebody else. And then when you give them receipts of everything you remember, because you have text messages and you have conversations and all this stuff, they'll say, you keep bringing up the past. How are we going to move forward if you keep bringing up the past? I'm trying to move on here. I'm trying to wipe the slate clean and you keep talking about the past as if nobody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I want you to forgive me. Boozy blah. Then you forgive them and guess what happens? When they get in their feelings again and they're ready to devalue and discard you, they're going to remind you again. I'm going to keep saying this. They're going to bring up everything they acted like they forgot the first go around in relationship 1.0 to not only make you feel stupid as hell, right? They want to condition you into accepting the abuse because if you accepted it before and you forgave them after all the dirty shit they did to you, you should do it again. And that is how the cycle repeats because they basically disconnect you from your own reality. They disconnect you from the reality of what they've done to you before. They disconnect you from the memories or the emotional connection you have to those memories. Even though they're painful, right? The narcissist will downplay the impact of that abuse to keep you as a source of supply, period. It is all about them. It is all about serving their needs. So if you're thinking about reconciling with a narcissist after the discard phase and you're only in phase one is just the beginning. They're going to come back. They always come back. And some of you want them to come back because you want to feel vindicated. You want to feel like they miss you, as if you meant something to them. But the narcissist is only using you to escape from their own demons. They don't love you. They don't care about you. So when phase 1.0 ends and the narcissist begins to re-idealize you, they're going to come back after a few days, weeks, months, and even years. And they may say, let's start over, okay? And you may think that they've changed because time has passed and, maybe they miss me. Maybe they see how life is without me. Maybe they value me now and appreciate me more because they don't have access to me. That's what you think. But while you were broken up with the narcissist, they were entertaining other supplies, so they didn't miss anything. They weren't missing you at all. They only came back to you because their other supply was not as good quality as you were, or the other supply cut them off, right? And say, okay, I'm not doing this messiness anymore. So now they're going to run back to you because they can't be by themselves. They need constant attention. And then they're going to love bomb you again and convince you that they've changed and that everything that happened in 1.0, right, in phase 1.0 didn't really happen, or you perceived it the wrong way, or it was your fault, right? And if you give them one more chance, things are going to change. And then you give them that one more chance and they're going to hit you or abuse you with everything they did to you before. And you will have no choice but to take it, because the narcissist will also remind you that you knew who they were before the reconciliation. So it's your fault this is happening because you allowed them back into your life in the first place. So they're going to blame you for falling for their lies. They're going to blame you for falling for their manipulation. It is a no-win situation for you if you reconcile with the narcissist, because each cycle of abuse that begins with the love bombing and ends with discard, they're breaking you down. Okay, they're breaking down your self-esteem, and they're training you or conditioning you to accept long-term abuse. Some cycles may be 6 months or a year. Imagine doing this 4 and 5 and 6 cycles, breaking up to make up, break up to make up for 15, 20 years. They're conditioning you for this. And you think that, okay, because time has passed, things have gotten better, and maybe they changed. But that delusion just prolongs the end of the relationship. It's never going to end if you keep thinking they've changed after every breakup. So, just to recap, you should never reconcile with a narcissist and never forgive them for what they've done, or never forget what they've done. You can forgive them for yourself, but never forget what the narcissist has done to feel better about reconciling with them. Don't ever let them convince you that they're wiping the slate clean. What they're doing is they're wiping your memory, right? So that you can put them back on a pedestal. And then when they're ready to disrespect you again with a triangulation or devaluation or gaslighting or whatever else they do, when they're ready to do that again, they're going to use what they've done to you before to justify doing it to you again. And this is what happened with Martell and Melody as well. If you remember, when Martell and Melody first reconciled, and Martell and Melody were having a conversation in their bedroom, and then Martell was like, so when I first started cheating, right? He was using that statement to justify what he had done. He was trying to justify his behavior. But I bet you, when they first reconciled, before the show started, Martell wanted her to wipe the slate clean and start from the beginning. Start anew, start fresh, right? Forget all the cheating and the lying. I'm Martell 2.0. I'm a new man now. And as soon as Melody confronts him about cheating again, Martell said, well, the reason why I first started cheating, right? So he was using something that he had done before to justify why he had started doing it again. Because Melody was only confronting Martell on the show because he kept cheating after the reconciliation. Remember, before Love and Marriage Huntsville started, Melody and Martell were separated. And Martell convinced Melody to reconcile with him. And I'm sure he asked her to wipe the slate clean. Then, as the show aired, Melody found out that Martell was still cheating. And when she confronted him about it, he said, the reason why I'm doing it now, he didn't say that per se, but that's what he was saying, okay? The reason why I'm doing it now, when I first started cheating, which means that it continued, you weren't doing what you were supposed to do. So I'm going to continue doing it now. That's what he was saying. And then at the end of season 2, Martell said, well, if you were doing what you were supposed to do in my house, I wouldn't be in this situation. So he's blaming Melody for something that happened in the past to justify what was happening at that moment, right? The reason why I've continued to cheat on you now is because I was cheating on you before, and what you were doing before is justifying what I'm doing now because you're not changing your behavior according to what I want, okay? So I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.